Hi, entertaining universe. I'm a part of this, basketball pool that for NCAA basketball that does this thing called March Madness every year. Now, last year we didn't do it because we were kind of in the middle of a pandemic, and there wasn't really, a lot of things happening last year that would allow the NCAA March Madness tournament to happen. And the same thing happened with the NCAA. I mean, there was college playoff games, and there was the postseason basically for NCAA football. We just didn't have that pool. Now this year, March Madness is in full swing. There's a lot of things happening this year in March Madness. Today is the first day of March Madness, basically, and this isn't actually to start the tournament. It's just for 4 teams to get into the tournament. They do that every year when they can do that. So none of these teams are my teams, but I will tell you which teams I have and who they're playing. So here's the teams I have. I have UC Santa Barbara, I have Oral Roberts, Alabama, and San Diego State. Now, this is going to be extensive, so bear with me in this video. So the 4 games that are today are Norfolk State versus Appalachian State for a 16th seed. I don't know who they would play. By the way, the tournament actually starts tomorrow. So these four games are just to get into the tournament, to see who they play. We got Wichita State versus Drake for the 11th seed. We got Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern for the 16th seed. And we got Michigan State and UCLA for the 11th seed. So I don't know it's for this first one. It's either going to be one of the 16 seed games. So it's going to be Gonzaga versus one of those 16 seeds. We got Oklahoma versus Missouri, Creighton versus UCSB, which is the team I have. We got Virginia versus Ohio, Southern Cal versus one of these 11 seed games today. We got Kansas versus Eastern Washington, Oregon versus VCU, and Iowa versus Grand Canyon. And we got Michigan against the other number 16 seed team, LSU versus St. Bonaventure, Colorado versus Georgetown, Florida State versus UNC Greensboro, BYU versus the other 11 seed team, Texas versus Abilene Christian, UConn versus Maryland, and I have Alabama versus Ion. And then by the way, that first set of games was from the West, and the second set of games is from the East. Then the South, we got Baylor versus Hartford, North Carolina versus Wisconsin, Villanova versus Winthrop, Purdue versus North Texas, Texas Tech versus Utah State, Arkansas versus Colgate, Florida versus Virginia Tech, and Ohio State versus Oral Roberts. And I have Oral Roberts, by the way. I don't think I'll win that game. I may win one of those games on the other side. And this is the last debate. Yeah. You got the Midwest. It's Illinois versus Drexel, Loyola Chicago versus Georgia Tech, Tennessee versus Oregon State, Oklahoma State versus Liberty, San Diego State versus Syracuse, and I have San Diego State, West Virginia versus Morehead State, Clemson versus Rutgers, and Houston versus Cleveland State. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, because a lot of the brackets will probably be busted within the first day or two. If you have any of the teams, well, the ones trying to get into the tournaments, that's not really a bracket buster yet. it won't the bracket busting probably won't happen until tomorrow, when all of the games are officially started and everything starts happening that way. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen in this year's March Madness, but I mean, one of my teams could go all the way, or I could be out in the first round, or the second round, or the third round, or the Sweet 16. No, that would be the third round, or the Elite Eight, or the Final Four. I can't really tell you what's going to happen with this year's March Madness, but I just thought I'd share with you what the games are going to be like, who's trying to get into the tournament, the teams that I've gotten in this basketball pool that I partake in every year, except for, when it doesn't happen, then you can't partake in it. I'm just saying. So those are the 4 teams that I have. 2 of them are California teams, which is good, even though, you see Santa Barbara as, who did I say they were playing? Creighton, which is a very good team. I don't know how many of my teams are going to come through or go through onto the next round after 64 becomes 32 and 32 becomes 16 and 16 becomes 8 and 8 becomes 4 and 4 becomes national championship. And we'll see how this NCAA March Madness happens and what's going to happen with that. So I thought I'd just, do that for you guys today. Tell you which teams I have. Tell you about the games that are going to be happening. I don't know. Like I said, I have no idea what's going to happen this March Madness. There could be a couple Cinderella stories that will happen. There could be, annihilation by one team to get to the Final Four or to the national championship. It's just going to be a complete mystery. Now, with that being said, I think that's where we're going to end today's vlog. So let's do birthdays. Oh, I caught it. Okay, so. Oh, and by the way, a couple of these individuals I had to erase because they're no longer with the Niners or they're no longer with the teams that I follow. So, but that's not, I mean, there's one that's coming up in the next 3 days that I had to get rid of, which I'll talk about later in that video, the one I have to do that. So, today's birthdays are Grace Elizabeth, who turns 24, and Lily Collins, who turns 32. So, happy birthday to those 2 individuals, and I will see you tomorrow with a brand spanking new vlog, and ciao.